Would you like some cake?
Thank you very much. Honestly, I'm okay. We've just had a very beautiful meal.
Are you sure?
Yes.
It's going to be hard work to digest it all.
Alhamdulillah.
take
Inshallah,
that.
later we
Okay,
can
okay.
have something. Yes.
Just put that away then. Talking about things that are hard work, Sheikh. We were discussing this issue over dinner of the youth and how they've become lazy and stuff like that, and how parents, what their portrayal of someone who's quite active is. I'll tell you a funny story. It's not a funny story, but I'll tell you an interesting story at least. When I was young, 16, so this is about 2006. The internet's been around for about 10 years in the mainstream. My dad, I believe he's born in 1943, so he's a war baby. So he's a bit old school, you can imagine. There's many years between us. Inshallah, God gives him good health.
Inshallah.
When he wanted me to look for a job, he actually thought that at that time you still have to go out there and really actively look for a job, as in go knock on the door, hi, here's my CV. Of course, by that time, all that time was the start of it, everything's apply online. So I'd have like, Dad, I'm applying to jobs. No, you're not. All you do is sit down on the computer. Dad, I'm applying to jobs as easy. No, you have to go out there and work for it. Strive for it. I didn't really, I think, right now I think there's positive and negative, but I didn't really buy into that because I was like, okay, my dad's old school, he doesn't get it, this is how it works. Funny enough though, that summer when I did find a job, it's because I did go and apply outside the house. I did actually hand in my CV to someone. But he always used to tell me from a young age, بالحركة بركة. The more active you are, the more blessings you'll see in your life. And that's something I feel that's really missing from a lot of youth these days, especially because of the internet and technology and all of this. I mean, you do get a bit complacent and lazy. And
very much.
I mean,
what happens is you start to think, I need to take the easier option, isn't it? Yes, please, thank you. And you start to look for whatever gives you more comfort. So that element of a bit hardship, putting the effort in, that struggle, that pain idea is somehow pushed to the absolute last resort. And I think technology is fantastic. It's changed our lives completely, the way we communicate, the way we interact with each other. Now, of course, we're wearing things, that gives us the
that's
steps.
A nice watch.
That gives us how many steps we take. Even when we sleep, how many hours. Technology has transformed our lives now. And some of us are thinking, what would I have done when there was no technology? I mean, at that time, the means of like in my area, for example, when I'm researching a particular subject, I really admire the scholars of the past because they had to go to, not libraries, they have to source out the books. Then we had libraries, but now we have everything in perhaps several apps or online, and you can get these material when you want a particular subject. So things have become much, much easier. But with it, the disadvantage of being somehow lazy.
When you used to meet up with somebody outside, if you told them I'd be there at 3 o'clock, you'd have to be there at 3 o'clock because you can't text.
Yeah.
The only thing you can do is look for a phone booth. Do you remember those?
Yes.
They take the 20p and they call and you can't
But
even
the problem there is that
if
you have a phone booth, you find a phone booth, how are you going to contact them? Because they don't have a phone. So then it becomes even more difficult. And many times the meetings get,
cancelled. Back in the day, by the way, people were more punctual. I find anyway, with my friends, with people that I've spoken to, they're like, when we used to say we'd meet somebody, we'd have to be there at that time. Otherwise, we might miss each other or anything like that. So now I've realized there's this culture of, where are you? I'm coming out of the house. It means he's just woken up. Where are you? I'm on the bus. There's traffic. It means he's jumped in the shower. Where are you? 5 minutes away. They've just left the house. You know what I mean?
I mean, in between brackets, we have this element of keeping promises in Islam that is so critical. For example, we have a beautiful story of Ismail alayhi salam, Prophet Ibrahim's son.
Yep.
He was once had an appointment with somebody, or had an agreement to be there at one time, and he waited for them for 3 days. According to the narration, he waited 3 days, and that person had forgotten. After 3 days, he'd come and seen Ismail, who had been bought food and whatever that place. He's like, you still here? I forgot that meeting is like, I gave you a promise. We had to meet at that time. So I know
That person must have felt really small.
the point is that I think technology has had a positive impact, but it's also taken away that element of struggle. You know, in Islam, there's that element of struggle, that putting in the effort to show that one is really determined to do something. And unfortunately, it's trickled down to even our attitude to our faith, our obligations. I always joke with people and say, I honestly fear the day that somebody out there is going to come out and say, we can do our salah online.
Oh, wow.
You know, to that extent where people have
Salah
now...
app.
Yeah. You know, now we have an istikhara app.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's
Yes.
hilarious. But no,
Yeah.
the Salah app idea is a good idea. I'm
Yeah.
painting that copyright. Ali Madani.
So I think, you know, the idea of praying online is far-fetched now, but everything is happening online now. People are even sometimes not even seeing the money that they get from their work. It comes through the bank, online, they buy things, they
gone.
shop online, it's gone. They don't even ever see it. And likewise, many aspects of our lives too. But I think one thing that is interesting we have to really talk about and discuss is what I call microwave religion.
Microwave religion.
Yes.
Okay, what's that?
Microwave religion is basically the concept that for eating purposes, we have two choices. We either get the raw materials and cook something and, you know, enjoy the food, or buy ready-made meals and microwave it.
I like that.
So,
I do like that. It's a nice analogy.
yes, so
Did you come up with it?
I did. It's patented as well.
Okay.
So
I'll swap you
Yeah.
Salah app for that
we'll
one.
discuss later. Now, what's interesting about this concept is that I've noticed some of our youth are doing is when it comes to acts of worship, they're looking for the easy way out. I give you an example, like khums. Some say, Maulana, is there a hila shar'iyya? Is there a loophole out there? Do I have to pay it? Fasting, can I do that? Can I do this? So that mentality of ease and looking for a way out is being incorporated into our practice as
That's
well.
all the media portrays to you, though. You can get rich quick, do this, blah, blah, blah. They're always looking for the easy way. It's been incorporated into most of the people who grew up here. It's their mindset. Do the least amount of work for the most amount of gain.
Correct.
That's what they're looking for. The fact is, if you want the most amount of gain, you have to put in the most amount of work. I kid you not, a gentleman I used to work with used to travel to the beach, you know, where is it, Southend or wherever it's called, during the weekends of Ramadan, just so that he can break his fast. He wouldn't do it on the weekdays because he's working and he knows that he'd get, you know, an earful from us. And we found out he was doing it on the weekdays, which I thought was hilarious. That's number one. Number two, I've been asked by the youth, to what extent is an ailment where I can sit and pray?
Yeah.
Is a headache one of them?
Yeah.
To be honest, if I ever did nothing, if I ever went stayed at home once, and my dad told me, what's wrong with you? And I told him I have a headache, he'd really give me a headache. You know what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
None of this Nancy-pantsy stuff.
Yes, yes.
Like, especially when I think about the stories that I grew up with, of my father and his hard work, he would always say, everything you do, if you're doing it well, with a good niyyah and تخلص الأعمال بالإخلاص يعني. It's ibadah, الشغل عبادة, الدراسة عبادة.
You do it for the sake of Allah.
All this is a form of worship. And you do it to the best of your abilities. I know you told me back in the day in Iraq and the thing, I'd wake up at 6 a.m, I'd do this and I'd work and I'd do this and I'd go there and I'd come back, and mashallah, he built so much for himself, and it's a beautiful way to live. It's a great way to live because everything has meaning.
Absolutely. And I think we are inspired by the Prophet and his family, who were incredibly hard workers. They would not in any shape or form display any form of laziness.
How many years was the Prophet a prophet for? Yani, when did the message come down to the Prophet?
Age of 40 till 63. 23 years.
So he built Islam in 23 years.
Yes. And it's a massive transformation. But you see, the key thing about the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him and his progeny, that's a miracle, and that shows the powerful nature of his personality. But the 40 years earlier, his first 40 years, he didn't just pop out at the age of 40 and say to people, come, I invite you to the religion. He was a shepherd. He was a businessman. So he went with the caravan of Khadija, and therefore he earned his living. He did work extremely hard. And we are
He
told when
built
he
himself a name as well.
absolutely As-Sadiq
Everybody knew
al-Amin.
him.
And when
For
he
the right
moved to
reasons.
Medina, when it was time to build the masjid, we are told he didn't just say to people, you go and build and I'm going to watch and supervise. He is the greatest human being Allah has created, and therefore you would expect people say, oh, he could just there and sit there and say, it's not for me to do. He was amongst the people who actually bought the bricks and actually built the masjid. And likewise in the year 5 after Hijrah, when it came to the digging of the trench that was recommended by Salman in the Battle of Ahzab, Ma'arakat al-Khandaq, it was the Prophet, Amir al-Mu'mineen. They were both in digging and sometimes this apathy, this feeling of lethargy.
Example.
Yes. Some of our youth, sometimes I speak to them like they say in the summer. Summer is a killer, by the way, especially if there's like football going on, Euro Championships or World Cup. I say to them, what do you do in the summer? They're like, we wake up around 12, 1 o'clock, we watch one game, second game, third game, eat, go out with friends and do that. I was like, are you using these couple of months when you're at school, college, for any purpose? Or is it just simply lazing around and doing nothing, And that is worrying if we're not appreciating the value of time and the extent of achievements we can do if from a young age we put in the effort in, because it is, Amir al-Mu'mineen says, it's like an uncultivated piece of land. Whatever you plant, it will grow when you're a youth, when you're young. It's not when you're late in your 50s and 60s. You have to start when you're young, isn't it?
There's a gentleman that I know, a businessman, who's very old. They had and this conversation happened in front of me. He's my father's friend and stuff. And he's still working. And he doesn't need the money. And he told him, why do you work so hard still? He's like, I still want to be a beneficial part of society. They're like, what do you mean? He's like, all this money that I'm working for now, and he's very rich, mashallah. He's like, I'm using it to fund projects. My hummus is being used to help poor people. He's like, let me continue to be عضو نافع بالمجتمع. Wouldn't you say that's a beneficial?
Yes, a positive contributor
a positive contributor to society.
Yes.
I love that mind frame, that mindset to think that up until you're about 80, and he's still working hard. Why? And this is a real person. That's pretty impressive, you have to admit.
Very impressive.
How do we instill that in our youth?
Yeah. First of all, we have to empower them and make them feel that they're valued and that they can make a huge difference. So a lot of the times they have energy, but they don't know how to spend that energy, how to channel that energy in the best possible way. So sometimes it needs effective leadership. So we need a few people who are quite influential to get the youth together and to give them tasks and responsibilities that they're passionate about, and to inspire them, to motivate them to believe that this is what they're doing is really great. And I think this is very important. But personal life, for their personal life and their attitude and the mindset that they approach religion, for example, and their obligations should be within the understanding that Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam says, حُفَّةُ الْجَنَّةُ بِالْمَكَارِهِ, that you get to Jannah through hardship. You don't. It's a path that is full of possible slopes. It's possible thorns. It's tricky. It's not easy.
To get to heaven, no, it's not easy.
It's not easy, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. It's very possible, and we created for it, but we have to work hard for it. I think one thing that plagues us all, is the idea of procrastination. And procrastination is when people put things off. They just don't do it. And according to statistics,
I'm one of those people. Sometimes I have to be.
We've all procrastinated sometime in our lives. Statistics say students at universities, colleges, they have said 85 to 95% of them have admitted procrastination. It's very, such as, for example, we've both been at university and stuff, assignments, deadlines, essays,
lastminute.com.
Last evening, everyone's panicking before exams, studying, cramming in. These are all hallmarks of procrastination. Somebody once was told, you've got to stop procrastinating. He said, I am promising you I will stop tomorrow. Okay? So apparently there's somebody, they did a procrastination convention to deal the problem, but nobody turned up. because they're all putting it off, putting off attending the convention.
I don't think that was a good idea.
Yeah, that was a good idea. So I was delving into the whole subject of procrastination just to reflect upon Islamic teachings, and I found so many narrations from the Prophet, from the Ahl al-Bayt, words that exactly mean procrastination, which is tasweef in Arabic. Tasweef.
Okay.
So there's part of Dua Abu Hamza al-Thimali where Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam says, oh my Lord, I have wasted my life and put off things deliberately, and not focused on it. So one thing that is clear is that it plagues everyone. It's a problem that affects.
How do you overcome it? By the way, I'm asking you, I feel like either I know the answer or I've been asking the same question for so long, because I'm not even going to pretend. Your wife, honey, take out the rubbish in a minute.
In a minute, yes.
And even when I was younger, that in a minute used to drive my mum crazy.
Yes.
Like, can you do this in a minute? Do it now. You know what I mean?
Right.
And now I'm older and I'm a father and stuff. I really get it. If anyone tells me in a minute, it will drive me insane.
Yes, absolutely. In the past, when we talk about things now with time have evolved in terms of means to impact procrastination. We must look at things which distract us. You see, there's a lot of things. I call them attention diverters. These are phones, gadgets, TV. They tend to sometimes shift our focus away. So when we ought to do something, these attention diverters,
let me turn my phone around,
tend to constantly somehow make us distracted.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's one thing about procrastination that is important. And second thing, we can't say enough about time management. Inshallah, I think in the future weeks maybe we can sit down and discuss willpower, and we'll discuss things like that. But I think willpower, time management is so important. So we could read about time management. You see, the Prophet ﷺ used to divide his time into three: worship, dealing with people, and family. So it was structured, it was organized.
Not in that.
Not necessarily in that sequence, but it was into three. So Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam in Nahj al-Balagha would say in his wasiyah, he's "Usikum bi taqwallahi wa nazmi amrikum." After taqwa, after God consciousness, you have to be organized in life. Organized essentially means that you have clearly identifiable goals, you have accountability, you have measure, you know what you want to achieve, and if you don't achieve it, you know why you haven't achieved it, and you constantly put yourself reminders. So I was reading into procrastination. It's like, put these post-it notes everywhere. If you need to do some things, put post-it notes. And the other thing is, remove these elements of your life which tends to make you become more lazy and put off tasks.
So like your bed.
That is certainly an important part of your life, otherwise you can't really function.
They send this funny thing that the best relationship I have in my life is with my pillow.
Because when you put your head on the pillow, it feels so sweet, especially when you're so tired.
But in order for it to feel sweet, I think you touched on something nice. You should be tired. As in, go work that real work throughout the day.
Yes,
so when you do come and put your head on that sweet pillow,
it really is.
Feel it.
And you feel the benefit of it when you're entitled to it. Entitled meaning that you're not just wasting time by just sleeping or just killing time, which is a wrong thing to do. The important.
Talking about being active, I installed a trampoline at the back.
Yeah, mashallah, very good. I think physical activity and sport is so important.
I can't handle things going on, I just start jumping up and down. No, I think the kids will enjoy it, right?
What we have done in many a times is focused on spiritual development and not physical. And the Imams, the Prophet was very focused on physical activity, in the sense that the Prophet would say, teach your children swimming, horse riding, and archery. But those are specifically maybe sports at that time. But today there's no harm to learn sports which are permissible in Islam, but also give us that physical strength.
Do you believe the healthier the body, the healthier the mind?
Absolutely. Okay. There's no doubt about that, because
and Islam pushes to that as well, as you said.
Yeah, and why? Because the body is entrusted to us by Allah. If we don't look after it, then it will impact the soul. Because imagine if you have pain and diseases, you're not worried as much about spirituality or salah or connecting with Allah and all that. You're worried about your ailments. You're worried about
you
your...
can paint the walls of the inside walls of your house all you want, beautifully, everything, but if the outside is crumbling, it doesn't really matter, does it? And I think that's the same kind of thing we're talking about, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think
I can paint a picture. You say it and I'll just paint the picture.
MashaAllah, very imaginative,
Oh,
creative.
unbelievable. That's why I love thinking about heaven.
So you must be a good artist then.
Well, when I was young, I used to draw and stuff, and now I've kind of used the media outlet to kind of portray my creativity, and I've used that creative outlet to, inshallah, serve my deen as well.
Yeah.
So I always say to the youth, you know, after you become hardworking, make sure that your hard work is towards something that can A, help your religion, B, provide for your family, and C, that is your interests, your goals, and what you're good at. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think those three things, if you work hard enough, you can, because I believe you control your own life and stuff like that, you can be really, really successul. And I think you can tick all the boxes of what I think a good Muslim should be. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. What is interesting about, not being lazy, and I keep remembering when I read this, is imagine if we tell the youth, or anybody, that on a daily basis, your local bank has given you £84,000
Allah.
on a daily basis, but the condition is you must use it every day. And if you don't use it, don't take it out of the bank, then you lose it. So basically, you don't have it the next day. It doesn't roll over.
Is that an analogy for the time you have in a day?
84,000 seconds we have on a day.
In a day?
Yes.
Allah.
So we only have it in the 24 hours. If it goes, it goes. Okay. Now, how painful is it for us when we lose time and when we don't effectively manage our time? If it's not something we take seriously, then we haven't appreciated God's blessings, and we don't understand that tomorrow may not be a reality for me. I may not live till tomorrow.
That's true.
So there's a very beautiful statement that says, yesterday was history. Tomorrow is mystery. Today is the present. That's why it's a gift.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What
it's
have
a gift.
you been reading?
It's a gift from Allah. It is the
Which
present.
poet? That's
Well,
Shakespeare,
I don't know.
surely.
I think it's Google.
Oh, I see, okay.
So, yes,
Strikes again.
the very famous guy.
So, yesterday,
is mystery.
tomorrow,
Yesterday is history.
Okay.
Tomorrow is mystery. Today is the present. That's why it's a gift.
Oh, wow.
Yes, a present.
I like that.
So, if we appreciate that, for example, if you want to know, they say, if you want to know the value of a minute, what minute means, ask somebody who, for example, two twins who are born, one born 1 minute ahead of the other. And if you want to know the value of an hour, speak to lovers who've been waiting to meet each other. And if you want to know the value of a second, speak to an athlete who lost a gold medal by a second, and so on.
I think you've been procrastinating by looking up these interesting
But
things
this is what we
Google,
need.
yeah?
Sometimes we need to put these
but I
into
love
our
it. No,
minds.
really.
We
See,
need
this
to.
is thing I can imagine this when you say it. The whole athlete losing by a second thing. I can imagine that's heartbreak. So
But they can imagine that 1 second. They can imagine the power of that 1 second. It really makes a big difference.
I think that's why a lot of our riwayat and the Quran and the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, when we're giving them to the youth, we need to add these kind of.
Yeah.
So I'm never going to forget that whole mystery, history, gift, present thing. I think actually as soon as I go home, go back inside, I want to say, hey, listen to this to my wife. Check this out.
Yeah,
and then
it's
she's
useful.
straight away going to know that it was you who said it.
It's useful. There's no copyright. You could use it. That's not a problem. But I think just to keep reminding ourselves of the value of time, the importance of time, for us is more than gold. I say to my kids now, I say to them, time is more precious than gold, because people say time is gold. For us believers, it's not.
No.
It's more precious because it's lost, you can't get it back. Gold, money, you can get it back somehow. You can gain it again. But for us, it's a gift from God. It's a responsibility. Allah says, وَقِفُوهُمْ إِنَّهُمْ مَسْئُولُونَ. Stop them, they will be held accountable. The Prophet ﷺ says, you'll be asked about your youth before your old age, your wealth before your poverty, your health before your illness. So these things that we have, it's not that, oh, you know what, I'm young, I'll be okay when I get older. This procrastination when it comes to tawbah, for example. Procrastination when it comes to hajj. Procrastination when it comes to salah. Procrastination when it comes to finding out and learning about religion. Always putting it off later. Hijab, classic one, it's hijab. We speak to some of our sisters, why don't you wear hijab? Later. Why? When I'm 60. Why? Now I want to get married. Wrong reason to...
When you're 60, you don't even maybe need to wear hijab. You know what I mean? Who's gonna look
So at the end of the
60-year-old?
day, it's putting them off, and it's shaitanic. It's shaitan trying to kind
The
of...
hajj thing is a big one, by the way. Because I was married. When I got married, there was... most of my generation got married about the same year, if you remember. All of them. And alhamdulillah.
Here was your nikah.
Yeah, do you remember? It
Yes,
was right in
yes,
this
yes,
garden.
yes, yes. It was here in
we
this
were together
garden.
as well.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that was funny.
mashallah, ya
How
nikah.
that came up, yeah. Good times.
Yes.
But let's not delve too deep into that. That was a very interesting day.
Interesting, yes. Happy day.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much. The Hajj issue.
Yes.
Alhamdulillah. I actually took my wife to Hajj
MashaAllah.
2 years ago.
What a beautiful
When
thing
it
to
was
do.
the first thing. As soon as I was able to, and I asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for my son who came straight after. So,
Subhanallah.
but what I'm trying to say is, from personal experience, not from like stories that people might portray as fairy tales that happened 1,000 years ago. As a fellow who grew up here in London and has been through the trials and tribulations that are very similar to everyone else, prioritize Hajj. Really, if you can do it, do it. And it's amazing what you get in return.
Yeah.
I really believe that because I lived it. I saw it. Do not put off Hajj.
Yeah.
As soon as you've even got a bit of the money, and you can nab a bit from your parents here and there, do it.
I fully agree, especially when you're young, because you've experienced it yourself and your wife that when you go when you're young, you've got
Dude,
more
it's
energy.
hard. I'm not doing that again.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
it's recommended
of
to do
course
it
not.
again, inshallah.
What I'm
But
saying
in terms
is,
of
I can't imagine myself doing that when I'm 80.
yes,
It's difficult. Hajj is not easy.
I
It's
know.
the best thing, though.
it's amazing, and it's of course with the restrictions that we have for ziyarah and appreciate
Yeah.
showing our love towards Ahl al-Bayt. Despite that, this is still a very spiritual journey, a very uplifting journey. Often what happens is some of our youth, they leave it till their older age. They say, it's not for me now. I say, why? They said, mentally I'm not there. I say, what do you mean mentally you're not there? If you have the wealth, or if you have the health, and there's nothing stopping you from going, security or things like that, then you should be going, because you shouldn't leave it. And we have a very strong narration that says those who leave it will be, resurrected, God forbid, as a non-Muslims. So I say to them, you should really be focused about doing it and don't leave it too late, because then you'll feel the sweetness of it. Why is Hajj wajib once in a lifetime? So that it really benefits you. If you leave it right at the end, and no, number one, number two, you never know if you're going to get
When
the
you say I'm
tawfiq.
not ready, you're not ready for anything. You go to Hajj to become ready. That was my mindset.
Yes.
I'm not the most religious person. I'm not this. I don't care. I'm going to Hajj to build the foundation to become ready. Does that make sense? That's
Absolutely.
That's what really I try to talk to people and tell them, listen, this is how you should look at it. Don't say I'm not ready. I don't like that. That really annoys me.
Yeah. So I think you're absolutely right. And the other thing to note is,
By the way, Hajj as well. Sorry, if you're lazy, it will really decrease your laziness. If you procrastinate, it will decrease your procrastination. Because Hajj, you see everything. Sayyid al-Milani, may God give him long life, gave me nice advice because he was with us when we went to Hajj. He said Hajj is one of the few ibadah where it's physical and also it costs money. So it's spiritual, and it's physically you're going to get tired. Also you need to spend money on it. Does that make
so
sense?
it's many, whereas for example, Salah, it's physical
It's
and
just
spiritual,
physical,
but we
yeah.
don't need to spend
You
money.
don't need to spend. So he's like, it's very important. It's unbelievable the benefits that you get because you're giving so much of yourself
Yes.
for Hajj. You know what I mean? Yeah, I love it.
Alhamdulillah. Inshallah, all the brothers and sisters, mu'mineen, mu'minat, who haven't perhaps experienced it, make a commitment and a pledge they can go and really
And let them
feel it.
use that as a base to beat the bad habits such as laziness. That's what I would say.
Yes, and it's not, I think at the end of the day, we all have some tendencies and picked up some things in our lives which we need springboard to try and resolve and to start afresh. And these spiritual journeys really help us to begin from a new chapter.
We met in the spiritual journey. Do you remember?
Of course, Umrah was amazing.
Many, many years ago.
Alhamdulillah. It was a fantastic trip, and I think it really motivated and inspired so many of our brothers and sisters to we saw the impact of it, that afterwards they were organizing majalis, yourself, you were really trying to serve the community, and you can see that these, alhamdulillah, they are gifts from Allah. These journeys, that I call them like stations of refueling. You go, you stop there, you get their fueling, and then you move on, and you can utilize that in your life, inshallah.
I really think you can. So Sheikhna, there's now one form of procrastination that we're doing, to be honest with you. That's, we have not started on this cake. So what do you think if you take this?
As we mentioned, Hajj and Umrah, and brought back some nice memories.
Oh, it did. So
I think
let's discuss them.
It's a good time to delve into it, inshallah.
Excellent.
Ahsant.